Hey everybody, what is up? My name is Martin and welcome to 2K Central. I hope you guys are doing well. Now, I know it's long overdue, it's been quite some time, but here is a breakdown of Red Dead Redemption 2's 1 minute trailer. Just 2 months late or 3, it's okay. So we immediately get a classic western view of a lone rider coming over the horizon with the sun rising against his back. Just a beautiful shot that sets the tone for this game completely. And disclaimer, it's quite possible that these shots have been enhanced to some extent. I'm well aware Rockstar normally use the in-game engine to make their trailers, but I wouldn't be shocked to see a small downgrade, so don't get your hopes up too high until we see a little more from this game. The trailer then transitions to this great shot of an open field. The variety within the landscape is pretty amazing, which is possibly the biggest complaint people had in regards to the previous game, was some of the level design lacked variety. On the right there's snow-covered mountain peaks with some forestation. Now take note of the 2 deers, or elk also. This trailer is filled with quite a few animals that are all reacting and moving in different ways, which showcases that Rockstar seem to be attempting to create some form of ecosystem within this game, but I'll touch on that a little more a little later. We then transition to the next shot of this ranch. We get some cattle here, so I assume we'll be herding some cows yet again. Farming hype. And in this shot we see a coyote or a fox or a mink hunting and grab a small animal that seems to be a rabbit. Now there's some minor forms of interaction between animals in the previous game. Occasionally you would see a bear attack some wolves or deer, though it seems like Rockstar have improved upon it significantly by creating some form of food chain within the game, which will have animals react and move as they do in real life. So maybe a subtle hint from Rockstar towards a living open world with a larger emphasis placed on hunting and interactions with the environment, which would be pretty awesome. We then get this scene that showcases the sheer amount of detail Rockstar have put into the level design. We then move on to what might be my favourite scene from the entire trailer. A glorious shot of a man sitting by a campfire with his horse tied to a nearby tree, but the sky above is honestly beautiful and you can see a gentle breeze hit the trees, making them sway ever so slightly. And I know that's meaningless to most people, but I'm just kind of a nerd for details like this. We then immediately get a shot of this guy who I presume is returning home from a hunt. You can see his kill a deer's carcass on horseback, which is honestly exciting to me. Hopefully this is a hint that they've expanded and added much more depth to the hunting in the game. In the previous Red Dead, we had the option to hunt and skin animals and then sell their skins to local store owners. And while we're hunting, we had this disgusting skinning animation.
This is a messy one.
God. But it'd be great to have the option to hunt and bring the entire carcass to a general store for extra cash. That would be a great addition. But put your tinfoil hats on right now. The way this man is walking and holding his gun is oddly similar to the outlaw from the promotional image on Rockstar's Twitter. His stance and how he's holding the gun is almost identical, but perhaps that's just a coincidence and I'm simply reading into this too much, which does happen. Also, I just want to point this out, next gen horse testicles. The hype is real, guys. Finally a game that's giving us what we want. Here we see 2 men in a boat, one an Indian. The man at the front is clearly a cowboy who seems to be using this native as a guide through these waters. And one thing that really stands out in the trailer is that almost every character is traveling somewhere or running and not looking back. And here is a dream catcher that is hanging from the tree. And from what I know, dream catchers were used to protect a sleeping individual from negative dreams. So in theory, they were used by natives to catch negative dreams and only allow the positive dreams to come through. So hopefully this means that Native American and Indian culture will be explored much further in this game, which would honestly be so cool to me. Also, there is a Native American in the promotional image, which could be this man in the boat. Alright, on to the next clip. Okay, so in regards to Red Dead 3 being a prequel, which has been highly rumoured, this clip specifically is one of the largest hints we receive from the trailer. Dozens of buffalo running alongside this train that appears to be an older model from the ones used in the previous game, but then again, I'm not an expert on trains or anything in life really. But for those who don't know, Red Dead Redemption 1 had an achievement for killing the last herd of buffalo, and in this trailer there's clearly plenty left, to the point in which the train has actually been forced to slow down that there's so many. And you can also see a telegraph line here at the middle, which was a major form of communication in the 1800s, outside of letters clearly. So it's becoming even more likely that this game is based in 1890 or slightly later. The trailer then transitions to this shot of a small town that is still under construction. You can see a man carrying building materials in the background, so perhaps throughout the game we'll see this town develop as we progress through the story. That would be bloody awesome. We then see what looks to be a brand new horse carriage or a stagecoach. Now the interesting thing about that is the previous Red Dead represented the end of the Wild West era and the beginning of a new age with the inclusion of the automobile. So carriages throughout the game looked very tattered and broken down, and yet this carriage seems to be brand new and untouched in comparison. Also, a very interesting note is the street light, which started to become much more common in America during the 1890s, and as the carriage moves, we get a great example of the amount of detail they've put into the streets. A general store owner selling fresh fruit, groceries, dry goods, tobacco, etc. The trailer then transitions to a pretty familiar scene of a lone cowboy saddling up on his horse, and I assume he's about to herd these cattle. But honestly, there's not much to take away from this scene specifically, other than there's some shit on the ground, but I won't analyse that much further. We then get a view of what is perhaps the same town we've seen previously. On the top left of the image, you'll see a building that has been tarnished by a recent fire. At the centre, a group of vultures are feeding off a dead fox, and to the right, a mangy dog bickers about being hungry. But if you actually look at the detail in the dog's movement, as he stomps through the mud, you'll see the mud and dirt splash up onto his fur. Just amazing detail in my opinion. I think I'm nerding out too much on the amazing detail. We also see this dude leaning against the back of a wagon, and for some reason, he reminds me so much of Uncle from Red Dead Redemption 1, but I think my mind is simply showing me what I wish to see. And as we see this character, a voiceover starts, but I will touch on that a little later in the video. It then transitions from the town to one of the most interesting scenes of the entire trailer. A lone rider approaching an oil rig. Now, a very interesting note regarding this area specifically, it highlights a region on the map that was leaked a few months ago. And you can actually see on the map, Heartland Oil Fields. Now, it's still not officially confirmed that this map is 100% legit, because some of the names and titles for regions on it honestly look a little off, and Rockstar have yet to address it completely. And in one of the final shots we see this man staring at the flames as it spreads. Honestly, it's extremely difficult to tell who he is exactly. Originally I assumed this is simply the main protagonist. For a second I thought it was actually John Marston, but it seems rather odd that he's just standing watching the flames. And finally, in regards to visual aspects of the trailer, we get 7 outlaws on horseback who cleverly have their faces covered. So firstly, I want to point out on the right, that person seems to clearly be a woman, brightly coloured clothes and a completely different body shape in comparison to the other 6 men. Also on the left, we see a man dual wielding, which has me extremely excited at that prospect. Now, I've seen so many people state these 7 figures are the exact same 7 from Dutch's gang in the promotional image posted by Rockstar Games. So let's take a look and see if we can link any characters from the trailer to the image. Now, firstly, the most obvious seems to be the older gentleman dual wielding. His outfit and hat is quite similar to the character in the image, and these buttons in particular kind of give him away. Next is the Native American fellow right here. The weapon he's using is a sawed-off shotgun, which really does stand out in the image as well. And you can also see that the colour of his skin is slightly darker than the other 6 riders. And then I think this might be the smaller guy from the image, riding at the back. He seems to be this man in the promotional image. His hat is rather similar, and he's got that distinctive bullet belt wrapped around his shoulder. Now, in regards to the other characters from the promotional image, there's nothing that stood out in the trailer except for this person on the right, obviously, who is a woman. There's the possibility that this character is actually Abigail, John Marston's wife from Red Dead Redemption 1. Alright, disclaimer, there's going to be minor spoilers. Now, during a showdown between John Marston and Dutch in Red Dead Redemption 1, we learn that Abigail did indeed ride with this band of outlaws.
You know, gentlemen, this man here, oh, he married a whore. Used to ride with us. We all had her. Oh, but he married her.
So overall, this being a woman, the 7 riders from the trailer cannot be completely linked to the outlaws in the promotional image because there's one missing. So it makes me think that perhaps we have the option to recruit and use specific outlaws for specific heists. based on how their skills are suited towards each mission, which is very similar to the heists in GTA 5, in which we got to see returning characters contribute towards the heist if you actually want to use them or not. I personally really hope that's a thing, but it's a pretty out there theory just based on this tiny trailer. Yep, I'm a crazy person. So the last thing for us to analyze is the voiceover during the trailer.
Listen to me. When the time comes, you gotta run and don't look back. This is over.
Now, there aren't many hints towards whose voice this could be. It simply might be the main character from the center of this promotional image, but I'm kinda leaning towards this being the voice of a younger Dutch. In the previous game, John talked about Dutch being a great speaker, so it seems fitting that he'd be the one giving this group of outlaws some advice. But then again, it's also possible that this voice isn't associated with these outlaws at all, but who knows. But yeah, I guess that is the end of the video. Rockstar are clearly holding back on giving any details regarding this game's story, and the trailer mainly showcased the environments and the level of detail that they're willing to put into this game. So we honestly cannot take too much from it, other than we get some minor hints towards the game being a prequel to Red Dead Redemption 1, and there also seems to be a pretty advanced ecosystem among animals, which will obviously help improve the hunting aspect of the game. Now, there's also some major rumors that this game will have multiple protagonists. So my question to you guys is, do you like the idea of having 3 protagonists similar to GTA 5 for Red Dead Redemption 2? Or would you prefer to have one playable character who is completely fleshed out and developed? Personally, I always lean towards a single protagonist, though the prospect of bank and train heists with 3 different playable characters from this gang does sound quite cool in theory. But if they are going with the multiple protagonist thing, I'd love to see one from Dutch's gang and the other a bounty hunter who is tracking them down for their crimes. Please make that happen, but let me know what you guys think. But yeah guys, that is the end of the video. As always, thank you so much for watching. For more Red Dead Redemption 2 content, stay tuned here on 2K Central. Alright, take it easy guys, I love you. Bye-bye.
Everything's absolutely splendid.
Walking down the street and you hear that heavy beat, can't help but walk your feet.